Greetings and welcome to your EdTech Quick Tip for this week. This week I've got a new piece of software that I want to tell you about. It's called Ziplet. It allows you to do exit tickets without having students required to log in. You can track those exit tickets. Students can send you messages on the platform. Let me show you how it works now. I know that the price of admission for most EdTech tools is free, so there is a free version of Ziplet. It is limited to 3 classes, 50 students per class. With this, you do get unlimited responses, so I think that the free offering is a really good offering. As you go through the sign-up process, the first thing that they're going to ask you to do is to create a class, so we'll go ahead and click Set Up Class. Now, if we have a roster ready to go, we can import our class or we can just create one from scratch. In my experience, one of the key things that we need to have happen whenever we utilize EdTech tools is ease of use, not only for the teacher, but for the students as well. And I do like with Ziplet that we have easy access with just a PIN. Students are not required to remember a username and password in order to access the content on here. If you do have older students, there is the classic login method. The good thing about this is that if you use Google Sign-On or Microsoft or anything like that, it does make it very easy to sign in for the students, and that way they can keep track of their own individual accounts. However, if you're just wanting to do an exit ticket, you're just wanting that quick piece of feedback, you want to make it so that you're generating as little friction as possible, you can just go with the Go option, and that's the one that I'm going to pick for today's demo. You can do some personalization by uploading an image and inputting a name. And setting up a class is that easy, and now they're encouraging me to set up my first question and send that out into the world. So just to kind of clarify, what's the reason for setting up classes? If you want to individualize and compartmentalize the different classes that you have so that you can see those responses based upon the classes that you have, set up a class for each one of those. However, of course, keep in mind if you're on the free plan, you are limited to 3 classes. So if this were me and those budget dollars were tight and I just couldn't spend the money on a paid account, I would just have one class and I would just utilize that across all of the different sections that I teach. Or maybe I have 3 different preps, and so then I would create 3 different classes for each one of my different preps. We're going to go ahead and click Ask a Question now. So I love those EdTech tools that give us flexibility. Here we can type in our own question, so if we wanted to ask something very specific on the material that we covered during the lesson, we could totally do that here. Or if you need some ideas, they've got all kinds of different template questions to get you going. I'm always interested in the social emotional learning aspect, so let's see what we've got here. I love this question. How do you problem solve when working with others? Let's go with that one. We're going to click Next. Now we can decide how we want our students to respond. We've got a scale, a reaction, a text, or multiple choice. We'll just go with text for this one. And then we get to decide whether or not we want our students to be able to respond anonymously. So remember, we use the easy login method. I want to be able to show you guys that you can have students log in easily, but also still allow them to be able to respond to a question and have that attached to their individual accounts. So we'll click Ask Now. All right, so we can see that we've got a little dashboard going here. We've got one live question, and if we click the area where it says Go Pin, now we can click Show Student Instructions. This is something that you could display on the overhead that just lets students know, hey, go to ziplet.com/go and enter this pin. So we're going to open up a new tab and show you what that looks like. All right, so this is the page where we need to enter our pin, and you can just paste that in there. So we'll click Go now. And if the students were allowed to respond anonymously, then they wouldn't have to do this, but since we asked them to respond linking it to the individual student, it asks them to type their first name in this box. Now they hit Next, and here is the Ziplet environment where the student can respond with their answer. They can click Send Response whenever they're done, and that's it. They can go back home, and they can enter another code to respond to another question if they'd like. Now back on our teacher dashboard, we can see that we've got a new response that's come in, so we'll click that. Now we can click where the question is, and it'll expand that, and it'll show us the name of the student, the date that they submitted their answer, and of course their answer itself. It does automatically generate you a word cloud, so that's kind of a neat little piece of data that you could show your students on the back side of things. And you can set up more than one question at a time, so I'm going to go ahead and click Ask a Question again. We're going to click Exit Tickets. We're going to go with How well did you understand today's lesson? And by default, it chose scale, which I like. That's kind of what I was thinking, and you can even customize the number 1 versus the number 7. I like what they've got there. You can have multiple responses as well. So by default, it asks students to respond with both a scale and a text response. I'm going to go ahead and toggle that off because I don't want to necessarily make them respond with text. If they want to, they can, but they don't have to. Now I'm going to allow them to respond anonymously. And it is the same exact pin. So we're going to go back over to our exit tickets on the student side of things. Paste in that pin number again, click go. And now because I'm on this particular environment again for the first time, it required me to use my first name to log in. So I'll answer this question again. Or I do have the option down here at the bottom of the screen to click skip for now, which I'll go ahead and do. And now I can respond to how well I understood today's lesson. I'm going to give it a 5, and I can input my text response. And then if I want to, I can send this piece of data anonymously by checking this toggle here. So we'll click send response. It does take me back to this window again. So again, my anonymous response has already been recorded for how well I understood the lesson. I don't have to respond to this. Over on the teacher side of things, I do have a new response, so we'll go ahead and expand that. And there's our response there. How well did you understand today's lesson? And it gives you a nice little bar graph as well as that word cloud again. So you get a beautiful little dashboard that really does a good job of giving you some concise data points that you can look at, utilize that feedback in order to improve upon your lesson the next time that you do it. If you would like to see what Ziplet is all about from a student perspective, I am going to leave this particular one live. So you're welcome to go to ziplet.com/go and enter the code 349530 and input your response as a student. And that will wrap up this week's EdTech Quick Tip. Hope that you found it useful. Hope all are well, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.